Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Janiyah Willer, and for today's video, as you can see by the title, the session is called Leading in Business. Specifically, I'm going to talk about certain things that I've had to personally navigate through, or that I'm currently navigating through, or questions, or topics that you may have. And I just felt like this is such a relatable topic, so I'm just gonna get straight into it. And something that I've personally had to navigate is the difference between being generous and I wouldn't say not being generous, but like being generous and when to actually implement your rules and policies and procedures. So if anyone knows, if you're in business or you want to get into business, every business has a set of rules, policies, and procedures that everyone should follow. You should have an employee handbook, you should have a customer handbook, whatever your service or product is. So many times people will try to test your policy and procedure. Sometimes they want a little pass or a discount or a waive of a fee. And you have to be very discerning on when to, waive something or be generous for someone and be like, I got it, it's okay, versus when to actually lay down your rules and your regulations. Whether that may be for your staff or your team or even your customer, you have to know when to be generous versus when to lay down your rules and regulations. Like for instance, there's a certain fee that may be included in a consultation, and sometimes you may waive that for someone, or you may feel led to give that person a discount. But especially if people know you, they automatically try to, not all the time, but more often than not, some people who are familiar with you may try to, ask for a discount or, say, hey, are we going to get people have different creative ways of asking for things for free and a discount. So you just have to be very in tuned and discerning on when to waive that fee and when not to. And you have to know who to do it to as well. Because let me tell you, if you give people an inch, they will take a mile. They will take a yard. They will take a yard. And one of the things, like at a business that I was given the opportunity to run, we have a policy in place that after 9 o'clock, there's no more drop off. This is only an exception if there's a doctor's note, a dentist note, or whatever appointment note you may have, or if you called before 9 o'clock stating the reason why you will be running late. Now, if you come anytime after 9 o'clock, you will be turned away for the day. And for most times, there is like a grace period, like, okay, one time you do it, you have a reminder. But then oftentimes they do it again and again and again. So that's now where you have to be like, no, 9 o'clock is 9 o'clock. Because at 9:10, if you do it one time and tell someone at 9:10, it's okay. More often than not, they'll come 9:07 next time, then 9:12 next time. So you have to cut that out automatically sometimes, because people will try you and they will test your policies and procedures to see how far they can go. And you have to be very aware of that. And the Bible even says, in everything that you do it in decency and in order. Make sure that you have things in place, policies in place, and everything is, in order, and you have a clear system in place. Because when you don't and you have gaps in between, people will literally run you over, and people will literally try to get over on you. And I'm not trying to sound like a Debbie Downer. I'm literally talking from experience. I literally had to force myself to become this way. And I was so generous with like a lot of things that people literally tried it over and over and over and over again until I had to put my foot down and be like, enough is enough. So the next point is being a Christ-like leader. This one I'm still learning. I've actually become a lot better, but being a Christ-like leader, I've learned that there's a way you can be assertive and direct at the same time and still be respectful. And most times, like before, I had a negative association with assertiveness as rudeness. And assertiveness does not mean someone's being rude. And I just feel like most times people are not used to direct people. We are more used to people who would, water things down for us or become a little passive about situations or topics. So when we hear someone being direct, sometimes it catches us off guard, like, oh, wow. But it's not rude all the time. And sometimes you don't need to take offense to it, because Jesus was very direct. In the Bible, if we want to be Christ-like as possible, like sometimes I even reference in my mind, like, Jesus was very direct. He was a very direct leader. Like when it was time, he called his disciples out. He said what he needed to say respectfully, and everyone listened. And I feel like people are more respected when they're more direct and assertive, because people know that you don't mind telling the truth. People know that you don't have a problem, confronting them. And when you are in business, especially if you have a team of people that you will eventually lead or currently lead, you will have to be assertive. You will have to be active, not passive. And I was telling someone the other day, like, there is no way you can be a leader and not have tough conversations, be confrontational, be assertive and direct, say what you need to say it truthfully with respect. We should all know that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And it's okay to be direct. Being assertive and direct does not mean that you are being rude. And most people need that, especially when you're a business owner. And like I said, you have a lead team of people that you lead. You're going to have rules and regulations that you put in place to make sure that, things are being done, rules are being followed, and people are listening. And you have to go behind them and get that right. Like, say you have an employee, who comes in late every day. You can't let that slide. Like, there's going to be a time where you have to implement what your rule is. Say, for instance, you have a pink slip method. So if a staff calls in late or, does not tell you when they're coming late and they're late occasionally, you're going to have to write that staff up. You cannot lead effectively and have people doing what they want to do in your place of business. And how I look at it as well is like, it's not even your business. It's a business that God gave you, and you've been given the responsibility of stewardship. So how will you steward the people that God has entrusted you to lead, that God has entrusted you, to teach? How will you do that? And that's how I look at it. And when you have that mind frame and that mindset of, this is not your place of business, this is God's place of business, and you are not the true owner of it, that God's the owner of your business, then I feel like you kind of approach it in a different way. And I believe that you are more vigilant in your approach. You are more meticulous in the way that you handle things and affairs and the people that, your customers or your team. And lastly, I feel like this is a major one. When to give up on your business and when to keep going. And we've all had those moments. If you are a business owner, I saw a video on YouTube, no, it was Instagram, a while ago, and a man was like, your faith is not truly tested until you become a business owner. That's not like, a end all be all statement. But when he said that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's very true. Being an entrepreneur is very volatile. And sometimes you may have, peak seasons, and sometimes, the season may change. So being an entrepreneur requires a tremendous amount of faith, because it's not like your normal, 9-to-5 job where you have a fixed amount coming in every month. Depending on what you do, you may have it. But traditionally, it's not like your 9-to-5 that has a set amount coming in every 2 weeks. There is months where it may be super high. There may be months where it may not be where you anticipated. My only advice for this one is just to seek God. And I know that's not the answer you wanted, but that was the answer I'm going to give anyway. So seek God. And sometimes too with this, God will allow wise counsel to come along the path and give you wisdom on what to do as well. And he will use people to lead you whichever way he may want you to go. And I'll use a quick example, and then I'm pretty much done with the session. But for me personally, I was given an opportunity to run a business. At the time, I did not want to do it. At the time, I told them to take another route of selling the business because I did not want to run a business at the time. But I had went somewhere and had the opportunity to spend time with someone. And during our drive, she instilled in me a lot of gems, a lot of knowledge, and really opened up my eyes to the opportunity at hand. And after our conversation, my whole perspective changed. I did not see it that way that she presented it to me. I saw it a completely different way. But after our conversation, I was like geared up. I was enthusiastic. I was encouraged. And looking back, it was just God. And it all makes sense now, and I'm happy that I had that conversation, was open, to receiving wise counsel for someone who had businesses and been through it. So she was able to tell me from her perspective and just open my mind up to that opportunity. And I'm so grateful for that. So from that conversation, I'm here today still running the business. And it's such a 360 moment because my degree is in business, but I never thought at the time what I was using. I used to say, why am I even going to school for business? I don't believe you have to have a degree for run to business. And you don't have to have a degree to create a business. And I do believe that having that degree, and especially in the business that I am, it makes me more credible because people see that credential. People see my qualification. And even though without my degree, I know what I'm doing. But with that degree, sometimes degrees make you more credible, especially in a specific type of field. So I look back and I'm like, dang, if it wasn't for that moment, of course I probably would have still ended up here in a different way. But sometimes the whole point is that God does send wise people to, steer you in that direction where he's trying to take you. So that's that. That is all for this session. I try not to be too long on my videos, as these are podcast style. So this is just a simple conversation. I will see you all in another video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.